All right. Good morning, Jason.
Hey, good morning.
Jason is a former United States Marine who is here with us today to talk about his physical fitness routine, physical conditioning in general, and about mental toughness. So I'm going to jump right into it, Jason. Why don't you share with us how you became involved in the Marine Corps?
How I became involved. Ah, well, I was attending community college and working full time, and I had been doing this for a few years, and I didn't really feel like I was going anywhere. And the military had been something that was on my mind for a while. Um, Both my good friend and roommate and I had talked about it, and remember I had a really bad day at work and I was just like, F it, I'm gonna go talk to the recruiters. And also around this time I was looking just for a kind of a career change in general. I went and got my provisional real estate license, and and so the military was kind of a backup to that plan. And so initially I talked to the recruiters, and I was just kind of like, okay, this is nice, you know. And then when the whole real estate piece didn't pan out like I expected, um, they reached out to me again a few months later and asked if I was interested, and sure enough, I was. So after that, got rolling.
Okay, awesome. And as we all know, the Marine Corps is the most physically demanding branch of the armed services. So, why don't you share with us what your physical conditioning looked like in boot camp and then what it looked like for you in the fleet?
Oh, boot camp. Um, well, the prior to going to boot camp, I could do, I think about 10 pull-ups and a handful of crunches. um, not the 100 for the full points for the physical fitness test. And I could run, but it wasn't pretty. But basically, all of my um, I was above the minimum requirements for everything, and the, kind of the expectation is that the design of boot camp is such that you will get stronger. You'll get
Mhm.
stronger and faster, and it's not designed to destroy people. It's literally intended to build them up and make them stronger. So I left boot camp, I think, with 14 pull-ups and 100 crunches and a decent runtime. I think maybe 23 minutes for 3 miles, um, which is not impressive by Marine Corps standards. And then the fleet. Well, then there's the schoolhouse, where we would get our MOS training, and there was quite a bit of conditioning there. And so I came to the fleet from the schoolhouse with, I think, 17 or 18 pull-ups, and same on crunches, and then a slightly better runtime. But the run was never an area where I really pushed myself, because of the um, just the math that goes into calculating the physical fitness score.
Mhm.
Um, it's changed a little bit since my time, but it back then it was, to get, well, there was 3 events, and each event, you could get a maximum of 100 points for a total of 300. And the it was 20 pull-ups, 100 crunches, and a sub 18 minute run time to get 100 points in each category. So the pull-ups and the crunches uh, were kind of the low hanging fruit. And then, so pretty quickly after getting to the fleet, I maxed out the pull-ups. And one of the more senior Marines in the shop was explaining to me one day, like, if you can get 18 pull-ups, you can get 20 pull-ups. Like, what do you do? Like, those are easy points. What are you doing? So, so I did that, but I was never really a powerful runner, and I just didn't have enough enthusiasm to really put in the work to get significantly better. So I think my best run time was, I think 21 minutes, 30 seconds for 3 miles. So
Okay.
decent, but not spectacular. But basically, in maxing out the pull-ups and the crunches, then essentially, as long as I got a run time that was passing, then I was pretty much guaranteed a first class PFT, which is important for promotions and things like that.
I see. Got it. And so what helped you maintain those high physical fitness standards during more adverse conditions, such as being on a deployment or a training exercise?
Well, there's always, on pretty much every base I've been to, there's always pull-up bars everywhere.
Mhm.
And so, and pull-ups were kind of a staple, are a staple in the military. And there's always a place to run. And so um, that was the majority of what I would do to stay in shape. So it really didn't matter where I was. I could do that. And I, instead of just doing crunches, because crunches are kind of boring, I found a bootleg for the Ab Ripper X from P90X, and so I would do that a few times a week, and that maintained my crunches. It was just something interesting to do. But yeah, that it wasn't. I guess I would describe the physical fitness as being more of a lifestyle. So it wasn't like uh, scheduled workouts.
Mhm.
It was just there'd be a pull-up bar. A lot of people had personal pull-up bars, and that was no different. And I just have it on the door, and occasionally if I use the bathroom or something, I'd see the pull-up bar and just knock out a set, and maybe knock out a set after work. I would do some in the shop. I would do some. Usually, we would have a set in the morning, right after morning muster, um, where everybody in the shop would do a single max set of pull-ups, and then later in the morning, I would do another one, and then I do another set in the afternoon. And so, not a lot of sets of pull-ups, but if you're doing 15 to 20 per set, then it adds up. So
Sure. Yeah. And so why don't we transition to more recent? Why don't you share your physical fitness routine these days? And also, I've heard that you are training a young man who is interested in joining the Marine Corps. Why don't you tell us about how those training sessions are going as well?
sure. So right now I am lifting weights, and I've been doing that since mid 2017. And the whole idea behind that was really just to, well, it was powerlifting specifically. So squats, deadlifts, overhead press, barbell rows, things of that nature. And the intent for me was just kind of overall strength, and um, kind of with an eye to longevity. Just I had seen something about a correlation between muscle mass and longevity, and I had wanted to get stronger for a while, and pull-ups weren't really getting me where I wanted to go. Uh, so, so I got a power rack and a barbell and some weights off of Craigslist, and just started going to town. And I've been pretty consistent with it. I think I've only had maybe at most a couple weeks of downtime from it, and kind of grew to really enjoy it. And in the process, I started, I think my body weight was about 155, and that was pretty consistent from the military. And this was about 7 years after I had gotten out. And so from there, my weight increased over the course of a couple of years to around 190s, depending.
Wow, that's a pretty significant increase.
Yeah, yeah, and most of it actually came pretty fast. Most of it was within the first 6 months. There's a lot of eating, but it's easy to do when you're hungry. So yeah, I've just kind of I still do the powerlifting movements, but it's not specifically with a focus only on strength. And so basically my joints started to let me know that like lifting heavy every day was not the way to go. So now it's a bit less structured, but I'm still lifting. And so the young man you mentioned is Alicia's brother, Dane. And he is interested in joining the Marine Corps, potentially. And so for his senior project, he needed a certain amount of hours of mentorship, where you could basically learn about the organization or job field that he was interested in. So he started coming over, and we started lifting weights. And the more we talked about the Marine Corps, the more I realized that after getting started with weights, that focusing on the events that have more direct application to the military was probably a better way to go. So now we're doing more pull-ups and we're running occasionally, but we're still lifting weights too.
Okay. Nice. So it sounds like it's a way for you to also share what you've learned over the past years about physical fitness, physical conditioning with Dane, and helping him to achieve some of his fitness goals as well.
It is, yeah. He, although I never thought that he looked like it, I'm told that he's had some challenges with respect to his weight, and I've seen a lot of that, through my time in the military and beyond. But I guess I've been fortunate enough to not really have experienced that, since I've been more or less naturally towards the leaner side. But recently I've kind of branched off into some other disciplines, to include intermittent fasting a little bit. And so I've shared these things, but I'm not sure how much interest he has in those. And truth be told, the fasting or fat loss, it's more cosmetic. It's not, it doesn't have quite the same utility that lifting weights or getting strong does per se. Although, as I have mentioned to him, basically the more weight he can lose, the more pull-ups he will gain, and it just makes life easy.
Okay, got it. And so shifting gears a little bit, if you could share with me, what is your definition of mental toughness?
Mental toughness. I think of mental toughness as remaining fixed to a particular intent or destination, Um, the, not not so much with a sense of rigidity, like, there's only one way to do this thing, but um, it's the idea that the mission must be accomplished. That's literally the number one priority. But there are many ways to do it, and so if one way isn't working, you can try another way. So there's some flexibility with respect
Mhm.
to the method or the means, but the goal is still the same. Um,
Okay, got it.
wh- whatever the mission may be.
Okay. And so that said, with flexibility being really important, how has maintaining physical conditioning translated into how you conduct yourself in your personal life? What do you see are some links between the amount of mental toughness that you've had to employ during your workouts and translating that to relationships, work and career, etc.?
Mm. Well, to be honest, I guess when I think of like the weightlifting that I do, I don't necessarily think of it in terms of mental toughness, um, per se. Although I can see why people would say, like, um, you must be mentally tough in order to do that, or highly disciplined. But the way that I look at it, because it's, for me, it's completely optional. Where the military standards, are fairly mandatory. Um, it's more of just enjoying the doing, and being consistent with it. And so, like, initially I started with a program, and I didn't have to think about anything because I could just follow the program. And in a lot of ways, I mean, that's kind of how boot camp is. Um,
Mhm.
and it was also helpful because starting out, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So, um, but now that I have a little more experience and I kind of know what I'm doing, I'm a little more intuitive with it, and so it's less about, I guess, being mentally tough, and more about, for me, um, just kind of listening to my body. Um, there's days, if I'm doing deadlifts, which really target the low back, and my low back is not having it, um, I might go light,
Yeah.
if even if I intended to go heavy. And there are times where, once you get started, then it's like, well, I can actually do more than I thought I could. And I've observed that quite a bit through the course of working out, is that, sometimes there's a tendency, especially when I was following the program, where I had certain daily goals that I was trying to meet with the workouts, and I would feel a little bit of apprehension about whether I could actually do it or not. and
Mhm.
and so I found myself kind of dragging my feet with it, and then, um, I basically just committed to the warm up. I'll do the warm up, and then I'll reevaluate. And almost every time, after doing the warm up, I felt good enough to continue the workout. And I didn't always hit my goals, but I did a lot better than if I just kind of, listen to those thoughts, of like, oh, maybe we'll just put it off a day, or something. Um, so I think in that sense, kind of getting that direct feedback was
Mhm.
helpful for me. And I think I can count them on all the times on one hand where I did the warm up and I was like, no, I'm not doing. It was very rare.
I see.
Out of so so yeah, that's the approach that I use. And I've noticed that among some of the people that I know, that they interpret, um, like the persistence, I guess, or the consistency that um, train with, and they see that as being highly disciplined or highly motivated. Which, I mean, you could make the argument, but the way that I see it is I just look forward to that time. And right now I'm only working out for the most part 3 times a week, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's usually whole body. And so I kind of alternate between, having a workout day and then having a rest day. And so on those rest days, I'm usually kind of getting amped up for the next workout. So it's not like I'm being constantly obliterated by the workload, which I know can impact people's the way they approach something. So that there might be a bit of moderation that correlates to, I guess, being able to stick with it over time.
Okay, great. And those were actually the questions I had for you today about physical conditioning and mental toughness. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Anytime.
All right, take care.
You too. Bye.